I've got hearted a few times praying to be featured. Please man, I love your channel. It's my daily fun. Gotta tell all my friends about this. Hey guys, if you write a nice comment under the latest video you get the chance to be shown in the next video. What's your greatest most satisfying I effing called it moment? Told my GF at the time that her best guy friend is into her. She kept saying she only saw him as a gay best friend and he only sees her as a sister. Well, she ended up cheating on me with him and they started dating after I broke up with her. I like to think I won that argument. I see this as an absolute win. Boyfriend's best friend, let's call him John, started asking me for favors and texting me at odd hours of the night. Felt uneasy about John's actions and informed my boyfriend every time I was contacted. As soon as it happened, I explained to boyfriend that John was acting suspiciously and making me uncomfortable, but I couldn't pinpoint why. Cut to a month or so later, John claims I cheated on my boyfriend with John. I effing knew it. Disclaimer, I didn't do it with John. My wife and I went to Red Lobster one day. My wife likes the shrimp and lobster pasta with Parmesan cheese. They sat her plate down. She got a weird look on her face. She told me it smelled weird. It smelled normal to me. I straight up asked her if she could be pregnant. Her eyes got wide as she starts doing some math in her head. We went afterwards and got a pregnancy test. Sure enough, she didn't even know yet. All because I remember some random tidbit about some food smelling off to pregnant women. Kept finding small cut up straws in my grandma's bathroom. So many straws. I'll let my grandmother know that someone is using her bathroom to use drugs. She freaks out saying I'm accusing her of using drugs and that it's impossible. A year later my uncle divorces his wife due to her cocaine addiction. Grandma says well Kay always stopped by in the afternoon to use the restroom and then she would clean my whole house and I just didn't think anything of it. My favorite story at Thanksgiving. When I was in 6th grade, I became friends with a couple other girls in my neighborhood. We each had completely different backgrounds, but we just clicked. For years, we three did all the things good friends do. The only thing I, personally, didn't like was to stay over at the house of one of these girls. I'll call her Brianna. I'd sleep over at the other girl's house. They could sleep at mine, but I always came up with an excuse not to stay at Brianna's. She started to get her feelings hurt, but I ignored it. Then when we were all about 16, somebody got a hold of liquor, and we all sat around drinking. Being drunk, we got into a little debate about who is better friends with who, and I was somehow accused of not liking Brianna as much as the other friend, because I wouldn't spend much time at her house. Since I had zero filter at that moment, I blurted out, Brianna, it isn't you. It's your dad. He's a child molester. I can tell just by looking at him. As soon as I said it, everything changed. I apologized. That didn't work of course. Both of my best girlfriends dumped me that day. I still had a solid best friend, but I had to get myself a new group for sure. Also, they started bullying me a bit, but I just took it because of the horrible thing I said about Brianna's dad. I felt super guilty. 3 years later, I was out of high school, living with my best friend who was still friends with Brianna. I got home from class and there was Brianna sitting on the living room couch. It was so uncomfortable. I decided to try to apologize again. Hey, I know you are probably sick of hearing this, but I'm so very sorry for what I said about your dad, Brianna. Please forgive me. I still don't know why I'd say such a thing. She sort of chuckled and said, it's no big deal. He molested all of us. I never questioned my intuition again, because I effing called it the second I saw that perv. When my brother and sister-in-law planned a trip home for Easter weekend, I told my wife and parents that they were coming to announce their pregnancy. Everyone told me I was crazy, and they just used the family chat for that. Cue Easter lunch on Saturday and my sil refuses a glass of wine and everyone guesses she's pregnant. Called it. In Canada we have a holiday called Family Day in February. In 2008 my wife was dealing with a sick family member out of town and had come back for a visit. We were trying to have a child at the time. Well, with our crazy schedules we had one chance on Family Day. The moment we were done, I jumped up, Gave her the double finger guns, first time in my life, and said bam, you're pregnant. Twin girls, red hair. Turns out I got everything right except the hair. Her Italian genes beat me in that one. I win for our entire marriage with that prediction. Pull out the third gun for triplets. You don't pull out if you want kids. In high school, my best friend's little sister, 16 at the time, brought home her new 18-year-old BF from work to meet the family. I was over at the time and talked to him for a while because we were the same age. After meeting him, something was off. I got the impression that 1, he was much older than claiming, 2, had been in jail. I wound up saying something to my friend, who told his parents and sister. Long story short, the family freaked out on my for spreading rumors that weren't true, telling me to mind my own business etc. 2 years later, the sister comes home from a date with him in tears. He finally came out and admitted to her that 1, he was 30, not the now 20 he was saying. 2, he had spent 2 years in prison but refused to say for what. I was very quick to point out to the family how I called this years earlier and was basically shamed out of their house. Caught up with a high school friend on a university campus. Pretty quiet guy, subtle good looks, but never showed any interest in relationships. We were waiting for separate buses when he runs into one of his classmates and she joins us in the bus line. We were having pretty good conversation, but I saw her eyes repeatedly flickering over to his face. Soon after, my bus pulled up, so I smiled and waved goodbye to my friend and said to the girl, it was great meeting you. I'm sure I'll see you a lot more in the future. She looked puzzled, but smiled and waved back. They're in a common law marriage now and getting officially married next year. And they've been valuable friends to my fiance and I for the last 6 years. My husband is super medically fragile. He's had cancer twice and a bone marrow transplant in the last 9 years. A few years ago he had surgery on his wrist, and I had a gut feeling he was brewing an infection despite being on antibiotics. His surgeon's office saw him and switched ABX. I contacted the cancer center because I just knew it was going to become more. They blew me off and punted back to the surgeon's office. I knew this was beyond the surgeon's scope. I pitched a tantrumy fit and pretty much told them they were going to see them and I wasn't accepting no for an answer. The Tridge phone nurse was condescending and telling me it was probably nothing and could wait. We got to the clinic and the nurse there started looking around the incision site. She told me that she believed my gut and pushed to admit him. The court showed a huge infection that landed him in the hospital for a week on potent 4th antibiotics with another surgery to clean out the site. One of the old coaches from the Chicago Bears is Mark Trestman. I told everyone that he would not make it to the 3rd year of his contract. He would get fired after the 2nd season. I made a $500 bet with my dad because I was that damn sure. Soon as the news broke, I called him and told him I prefer cash over check. Dude at work had been complaining about his crazy girlfriend and her problems. 2 weeks later he is talking about how she is pregnant. In my head I'm thinking, she is going to lose the baby because it isn't real. Sure enough, he comes in all sad about just over 2 more weeks later saying she had a miscarriage. Some time passed and has complaining about her crazy antics again. It was New Year's Eve. We were about to do the firework and me and my friend wanted to set up the box for the firework, just putting 4 bricks around it to keep it safe and start the firework. Then this girl came and said she was gonna do it cause she bought it. We told her how to do it and she said nah, I'll just start it up. I told her don't blame me when it tips over and starts shooting at us. She said it won't happen. That's exactly what happened. The firework just tipped over and started shooting at cars and people. I just calmly walked up to her and said I told you so. That my sister is gay. Growing up she developed what was very obviously, to me, a crush on different girls. In high school I finally said, girl, have you considered that these feelings you have for so and so might be romantic? She flipped the F out on me. We didn't talk for weeks. She'd date any guy that asked her out because she was supposed to like guys, but never really felt anything for them. Finally in college she called me and went, yeah, so anyway, you're right. I'm totally gay. We joke that it took her so long not because she was in denial, she just didn't want me to be right.